Transmission engineer with PPC-1. Today I'm going to explain to you a little bit of what's happening now that we finally accomplished final splice on this system, which, you know, we're all excited, we're all here working. I mean, this is what we live for. Final splice, getting right across that fiber and bringing up these networks. It's a great time for us. Some of the first things we do whenever we have a final splice is we need to make sure of a couple things. One is, can we power up the segment, basically the undersea cable from here to Sydney. And then we also want to do some other checks to make sure that the system is working the way it's supposed to be. Prior to powering up, one of the first things we do is we come over here and we check different measurements on the PFE system. Particularly, we check over here on our plin bay, which you can see here, if we can zoom in here real quick. You can see these different test points here, basically what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to test to see that if there's any AC voltage that's out there on our land route portion of the cable, to make sure that it's neutralized here at the plin bay and doesn't come here into our PFE. Following that, we've got additional testing to do. For example, over here on our TEM, we run what we call the LME OTDR shots, which basically gives us a view of all of our repeaters on the segment so we can see what our losses are from one end to the other across the segment through each repeater. Now, if we come over here, you can see this little diagram here, and you can see these peaks. Now, for a cable system, this is really, really nice because you can see how nice and even they are. There's no drop down like this, so you can see we got good power levels on PPC-1. Each one of these little peaks signifies where a repeater is located, so you'll basically see the signal dropping in power, hits the repeater, and it jumps back up. So that was some other checks that we did, and we do that on every fiber pair, as well as Sydney doing it on the fiber pairs coming back towards Guam. Okay, now following the testing that we've done on like the plin bay and other various checks that we'll do on the PFC, then we'll actually power up the PFE, and we'll power the PFE up in conjunction with the people in Sydney. Now, in this scenario here, when we powered up our PFE for the first time across the segment, we actually powered up as a single end feed from Guam to Sydney, and then Sydney brought their PFE up, and now we're sharing the load. You know, we've done various tests and so on yesterday, but at this point now, the segment's working, it's powered, and we're sharing the load with Sydney, which means we're basically powering to a halfway point in the cable. Sydney's taking the other half. Okay, the next thing that we're doing as of right now, we're doing what we call our totes testing. And what the totes testing is going to do is it's going to load each fiber pair on the PPC-1 cable with the 96 wavelengths that it says that it's basically proved that we can put 96 wavelengths across that segment. And you can see here on this optical spectrum analyzer, which we call it OSA, you can see all these little wavelengths in here. Now, like I said, this is a test, so you're not going to see an actual 96 wavelengths, but the way this test is configured, each one of these little peaks here is, in essence, the same as 3 wavelengths. So what we've done is we've loaded up that fiber pair with the equivalent power of 96 wavelengths to verify that we get clean transmission. So why do we do this? Well, the reason we want to do this is because we want to verify that the PPC-1 cable system can grow later on into the future as we add more and more wavelengths to it, and that the wavelengths will work across it. So that's where we're at right now. Following this, we'll get into commissioning the LTE. As you can see right now, we got fibers running all over the place. That's because we've got all these test configurations that we're trying to run through. We'll test the LTE, and then we'll hook up our ADMs, and then we're going to start running traffic from Australia to the US and to Guam and everywhere else in the world. And as we progress further, I'll take some more video to give you an idea of the different things that we're doing as we bring up the network. Thanks.